Today is January 10th, 2021, and a 1 year anniversary for me. 1 year ago today, I entered the hospital emergency room and learned that I had a complete and total blockage of my digestive tract. And I suspected that it was cancer, but they wouldn't confirm anything at that point. Not until 3 days later, after I'd gone into surgery, uh, did they confirm that yes, it was cancer. It was a total blockage, and as a result, in order to save my life, they installed a colostomy bag. Uh, Interesting start for a brand new year. And the funny thing is that my first thought was not about the cancer. My first thought was, can I still go diving with a colostomy bag? Um, During my hospital stay, I had a CNA nurse or CNA come through, and after I shared with her what my diagnosis was, she really kind of became quiet. And I asked her why, and she just was like, "Well, you're so young to have cancer." And I shared with her. I said, "True, but um, when you know your end destination, when you know your final, resting place, um, this is just a different road. This is just a different journey." For us, we had planned for 2020, pre-COVID. We had planned on, attending Trawler Fest in Stuart, Florida, to go to diesel mechanic school and to docking school, and really moving forward with our plans to get ready for selling our home and buying a boat and get moving on towards that mission. Um, and sometimes we realize that our plans are not always God's plans. And it's not that our plans have changed, it's just I think He was telling us to slow down. I would have picked a different way of doing it, but maybe, I'm hard headed enough that He needed to do it that way. We were blessed by an amazing surgical team. In fact, Kathy had the opportunity to pray with them before they went into surgery with me. I came back out, all was well, uh, but I did have an open wound that needed to be cared for. And I was blessed by the fact that Kathy was able to take care of it. She repacked and cleaned the wound every single day and brought me back to health to the point that I could finally then talk to the oncologist and begin my first chemo treatment. I went through chemo for, I think, a total of 7 weeks. They installed a port that allowed them to administer the chemo, and I came home with a little pump, so I didn't have to sit there for 5-6 hours to get injections. Um, After that period of time, we waited a bit, and the oncologist recommended I go in for a colonoscopy to determine, what the status of things were. Unfortunately, at that point, my GI doctor came back and had removed some polyps and mentioned that yes, the cancer had moved somewhat into my lymph nodes. They were focused; it was focused in one spot, but they were still in my lymph nodes. He also gave us the news that he really, in his opinion, didn't think that they could reverse the colostomy and put things back together based upon where the cancer was. You know, that was a little devastating for us at that point. I wasn't, again, I was never really worried about the cancer. But the colostomy, for whatever reason, I just getting it into my mind of that's a difference in life, difference in having to do things that I've done for 50 plus years. And it took me a couple days to get my head wrapped around the fact that that might be my future. But the fact is that there are people that go through struggles beyond some stupid little bag taped to the side of your body. There are folks that put on prosthetics every day, and there are people that are in a wheelchair every day. And I was blessed with the fact that I just had to deal with a plastic bag, and it really kind of refocused me and realized that this was just a change again to the road that we were moving down and an adoption that we had to work through. So it took me a little bit, but I finally got my arms wrapped around the fact that I might be living with this for the rest of my life. At that point, my oncologist wanted to really aggressively move forward. We wanted to deal with whatever left over was cancer there. His concern was obviously making sure that it wasn't spreading, and fortunately it did not. He did put us in contact with another surgeon who specializes in the colon and that area of the body. And before we went and saw him, I'd asked Kathy, this was around June, I said, so, what do you want for our anniversary? We're hitting 20 years in 2020. And she said, I want the bag removed. I want, I want that gone, and let us move on, and you're healed, and we move forward. Certainly not a gift that I can give, but it was interesting. And we went in to see this surgeon and talked to him, and he was, oh, absolutely, we can get in there, we can fix this, we can remove the tumor, we can get things taken care of, and I believe I can reverse the colostomy. When do you want to do the surgery? So we scheduled the surgery, and the nurse came back and said, well, we have an opening on July 1st. Well, July 1st is our 20th anniversary. And God blessed us with some amazing nurses and doctors and surgeons. And through this whole process, the surgery went well. It was successful. The colostomy was completely reversed. And I was just amazed at what he continued to do in our lives. I've gone through now 12 treatments of chemo, a little more intense. And as of the end of the year, I have been marked as clean. I no longer have cancer. Certainly I have to go through the same steps that most folks have to do. I have to go back and get my scans every couple times a year for the next few years. We can feel completely blessed and fortunate. Certainly COVID complicated things this last year. It's caused me to have to be isolated more than a lot of folks have to be. I pretty much went from my house to the doctor's to home. Kathy and Damien have both had to seclude themselves as well. Damien's had to do homeschooling, or not homeschooling, but virtual school at home, not been able to return to school because of the potential exposure with my white blood cells and being low and my immunity being almost non-existent at this point. But we've been very fortunate. And yes, 2020 was a tough year, but it's been a blessed year. We've been blessed by people in our lives. We hopefully our story has blessed others as we've gone through, and we feel incredibly fortunate to. I've been able to continue to work throughout this last year because I've been able to work remotely, and just an amazing blessing that we've had. No, this was not a road that we would have chosen. No, this is not a path that we would have walked down if we had been given the choice. But it's a path and a story that we now have walked and are able to share and hopefully inspire others that, it may not be what you thought it was going to be, but God is taking you through every single step of the way, and He's been there for us as well. So looking forward to 2021 and beyond. Not looking for any magic to happen with this new year. It's just another year, but it's a new start and an opportunity to get back to the path that we've been on. Have a great year.